Scientifically speaking, we're sharing the view. From labs to clinics, breakthrough shining through. With minds that inspire and stories to unfold. Scientifically speaking, the future's being told.
Welcome to another episode of Scientifically Speaking with Christine on Oz Arab Media. Today, we're joined by Joya Nicolas, a dynamic force who bridges tennis, art, psychology, and holistic health. With experience in competitive sports and creative therapies, Joya is reshaping how we view the link between the body, the mind, and the soul. This isn't just about winning on the court, it's about showing up as your highest self in life. So Joya, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Of course, thanks for being here, for your time, and let's dig in straight away into our industry today. How has your background in sports influenced your understanding of the mental health and the need for creative outlets?
I think my experience in sport has showed me how important it is to have creative outlets for mental health and recovery and many other things. I've been blessed since I was young to have the opportunity to explore many types of avenues in creativity. So art, music, languages, dance. And I found I had a real passion and talent, thank God, for visual arts. And then when I decided to pursue tennis seriously, I felt that I was kind of split between the two, always having some sort of identity crisis between art and tennis. I was always more artistic than athletic. But then I realized actually, as a tennis player, art is my biggest asset because it helped me after matches to unwind, decompress, and I always saw them as separate. But when I brought them together, it was really powerful. And I think what was really interesting is learning about samurais. And they say a samurai has to be strong enough to go to battle, but gentle enough to do things like calligraphy, poetry, etc.
Oh, that's very interesting.
It's like the yin and yang, the feminine and masculine energy. And that to me is kind of like art and sport. You know, you have art which is very expressionate. I'll say that again.
It's all right.
You have art which is very like expressive, intuitive. It's kind of like a feminine energy, and to me, it's like the element of water. And then you have athleticism, sport, which is very intense, you know, masculine energy.
Force,
Exactly. And that's like a fire element. So when I combine the two, I realized this actually makes me whole. And, you know, you don't have to be an artist. It could be something so simple like singing with the windows down before a match. And that would help me a lot to, you know, keep my nerves down when I was anxious, because when you sing, we all know that feeling, like you breathe from your belly and you let it out on the top of your lungs.
Regardless if you've got a voice.
Yeah, you don't have, I mean, people without a good voice or not, I don't have the best voice, but I would blast music before tennis, windows down, and I felt my breathing would slow down. I would start using a deeper part of my core and my nerves would just settle. Yeah.
Amazing. My second question would be, what was your everyday technique to de-stress? So it might be singing. Is it the only technique that you use to tune yourself in?
I think singing is definitely something I use for matches. But in terms of everyday, I would like to say meditation is definitely my go-to, with obviously prayer or journaling. But this is how I kind of start my day. I like to go from inside to out. And by that, I mean, you know, start with meditating, prayer, intention setting, then going into like a physical
warming up and things like that.
Like washing my hair or brushing my teeth, getting ready. Then obviously start my warm up. And then in the night, I would reverse that. So I would, you know, get changed, shower, pack my clothes for the next day, then go into more like internal methods, journal, etc.
And do you feel this really de-stresses you or takes the anxiety out of you?
Definitely.
Does it? Wow.
Definitely, because you know, when you have routines, they ground you. And for me, like following that, I want to say rhythm or format, just keeps me in a flow state. And people always talk about meditation, but until you practice it consistently, you won't know how powerful it is.
Oh, wow.
Like, I want to say before the battle, if you're practicing it all the time, when you're in the heat of that moment, you realize your body can actually regulate itself, your nervous system. So it takes a lot of practice.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm really into, what do you say? Into it a lot. So Joya, we are seeing more elite athletes, if we can say, speaking openly about mental health nowadays. How has this conversation and the pressure and increased the performance in your tennis and your personal experience?
Yeah, definitely. I think awareness is key, and we're seeing more athletes speak up about it now. And the pressure of elite sport, I think for so long and too long, athletes are seen as robots and placed on a pedestal where they were like a superhuman and could just do anything.
They're always strong, they're always fierce.
Right. But that was only because they were forced to wear a mask. And there is a cost to wearing a mask for so long. And we see now athletes speak openly about it, such as Jelena Dokic, through her experience of abuse and domestic violence. And it's really important. But then I think on the other hand, pressure can be seen as a privilege, like Billie Jean King said. So, you know, for me, growing up in Australia, I've never faced pressure of not having a home, being displaced. It was maybe different for my parents who fled the civil war from Lebanon.
True.
And also as the sport ambassador at St. Macorius Charity, I work with lots of homeless people. So my pressure to win a match or perform well is nothing like the pressure of not knowing where my next meal will come from.
Wow.
So it's a real blessing to be able to have pressure from a challenge of your own choice.
Yeah. Wow.
But I think also my perspective has changed. Like, I used to see pressure and the goal and the finish line as a mountain that I had to conquer.
Yes, it's like the biggest and never-ending experience or challenge you're having, but there's many other bigger things alive.
Yeah, and there was always this mountain, something I had to prove and conquer. And then I realized this mountain that I'm trying to conquer is myself. Like, I am trying to overcome myself and, you know, my demons and my own challenges.
Wow.
But then I realized after all of this, there is no mountain. It was a straight path this whole time. Have you seen The Matrix?
So, it's just like something in your brain. It's in your head.
So you know that when he picks up the spoon, and then the kid says to him, "There is no spoon."
Yes.
It's something our mind creates. But I think to get to that point, like, you have to really walk through the fire to be able to embody that truth. Like, I created that. You know, I gave energy to that, and it became a mountain. But yeah, you have to go through it.
To be honest, doing this conversation with you today, it made us think that we are really connected, you know, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Like, you think, okay, how am I going to speak to a sports person about psychology? Like, you know, when you're preparing or doing something like that. And then you think, no, that's interesting because we are really connected. And through our discussion today, coming forward, we will see how much this is connected.
Exactly.
So,
it's all interrelated.
Thank you for bringing that up.
People have no idea.
They don't.
Yeah.
Let's discuss more. You have studied how specific brain regions impact movement. And can you explain to us how really this mental fatigue can affect coordination, or if we can call it the reaction time on court, and what athletes can do about it?
Yeah, so I recently did a neurotraining seminar, and I learnt about how the visual system and vestibular system, which is like the balance part of your brain in the inner ear, how that can improve athletic performance. I was honestly shocked to see that a quick brain training activity could unlock your range of movement in your neck, so left to right, in an instant, like minutes. And something that would take, you know, hours of rehab to do, as soon as you unlock that pathway in your brain, it can really speed up the process.
Wow.
Especially things such as reaction time, endurance, speed, you name it. So we're seeing now that the incorporation of training your brain, how it can improve your athletic performance. And I think there was a statistic that said under mental fatigue, athletes performance decreases by around 10 to 15% in terms of
Wow, that's a lot.
in terms of their endurance and reaction time, and they started to make more errors on the field. And we know in sports, like, margins are everything.
Yes.
Tennis is a game of inches, so you can't be
By
affording
the milli of the seconds, you can
millisecond.
win a game or lose a game.
And if it's on the line by this much or
Yes,
that much.
yes.
So, you know, it's
how fast your reaction should be
Exactly.
so that you can catch that last second.
exactly. And mental fatigue plays a massive role.
Definitely.
And people don't realize, like, we just the same way we need to rest the body, we also need to rest the nervous system.
Yes.
And if we rest it, think about the opposite, which is training it. So we can't just train the body anymore. We need to train the brain. And I think,
The main guy.
the thing running the whole show. So,
Yeah, that's true.
you know, when you start to train the brain and under fatigue, under pressure, and see how your accuracy, reaction time, speed, coordination improves, like, I think that's when you're really onto something and improve your game and take it to a whole nother
Amazing.
level.
I love it. You were talking, Joya, a bit ago about art or how it de-stresses you.
Yeah.
So there is something called art therapy.
That's
But
right.
many people, when they hear about that, they think of a drawing, of a painting, but there is much deeper things into this. Can you please explain a little bit how art therapy works from a psychological perspective?
Yeah, so art therapy can be thought of in two ways, art as therapy or art in therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
quite...
it's grammar now, guys. Let's
Yeah.
take it.
So art as therapy is just how it sounds.
Right.
Doing art because it's a therapeutic
Yeah.
skill. So, you know, we all know the feeling when we draw or paint, we feel relaxed, calm, grounded, mindful. That's art as therapy.
Right.
It's naturally relaxing.
Okay.
And then we go to something called art in therapy. Now, this is a technique used by some, not all art therapists.
Okay.
Where they can access deeper parts of your brain, so your unconscious. And through this technique, they can access this part and it reflects into the image. And by doing that, you can go to reach deep-seated issues and therefore solutions for them.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds a bit weird, but it's not as it sounds.
But it's kind of like, is it a practice of meditation? Is it a practice of magnetism? Like
It's more psychoanalytic. So we
Right.
know of Sigmund Freud. You know, I'm
Yes.
sure you've heard some
Yeah.
things that he say are a bit crazy, but it's based on that. You may have heard psychoanalytic
Yes.
school
Okay.
of therapy. Even Carl Jung. So they talk about different levels of the mind. Obviously, we have the conscious,
Right,
subconscious,
yes.
unconscious.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of therapies can't get to that deep unconscious level, but
Right.
that's just the nature of
But
it.
if you don't mind me asking off script, what's the aim of that? Is it the aim to go and subconsciously take the stress out or the anxiety
Yeah.
out or trauma, or what's the main aim?
Exactly. So we have some issues that, you know, we cannot actually reach just
Yes.
by going through the conscious mind, you know, such as trauma.
Yes.
Trauma
yes.
is in the it's stored in the unconscious brain.
Yes.
So talking therapies that are, you know, largely conscious cannot access that. So it's
Until
not used.
we go into the art in therapy.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it of course has to be used ethically, etc.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's a lot of things that we can't do without art in therapy.
So are there particular parts of the brain activated during this art therapy that contribute to the emotional release as well as the trauma release?
Yes.
And that's been done by professionals and mainly, modernly now, we can say, with athletes. Did I get the concept right?
Definitely.
Just to try and explain it maybe
Yeah,
to my listeners. Wow, that's very
So
interesting.
I would
Yeah.
say specifically
Yeah.
when we do art in therapy, so we're trying to reach that deeper state of unconscious mind, that is where we are working with trauma clients.
Right.
And for example, trauma is stored in the limbic system of the brain.
Yes.
So this is the survival part of your brain. It's non-verbal, deeply emotional. And as I mentioned briefly earlier, talk therapies, they use the frontal cortex. So
Right.
that's where language, words is all used in the brain. So tell me, how can something like trauma, if it's stored in the limbic system, be activated or accessed through talk therapies if they use the frontal cortex?
I don't think they will, especially if they're in denial or they want to throw it into back of their brains.
Exactly right. So you can't, or you might just reach the surface of it.
Yes.
You won't be able to go deep to the root and cause lasting change. So that's where it's important. You might not be able to do that without, of course, an art therapist or a psychoanalytic practitioner.
Right.
And there's many other methods.
Yeah, many professionals and doctors that can help through that, I'm sure.
But until you reach that deep level of the unconscious for trauma and release it and uproot it, it will just continue to run your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, funnily speaking about trauma, we go next into the COVID era. Hoping it's not that traumatic to a lot of people. But a lot of people are feeling mentally foggy or exhausted or emotionally out of sense since the pandemic. What practices have you found that are most effective to reset your nervous system and go back to the grounded state of yourself?
I think the mental fog is real for a lot of us.
Yes.
And it's been, I think, hard to refresh and go back to a strong sense of energy. I'd like to say one of the important things that I've done has been reducing my exposure to screen time.
Right.
Especially at night. Everyone knows about the, blue light and also we're just starting to learn about EMFs and the impact it can have. So something simple like sleeping with my phone outside, even not even in the room, like good sleep hygiene.
I feel naked without my phone.
Right. But once you get into the habit of it, you start to feel free. You can sleep freely.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that would be one thing. Another thing I would say, this might sound silly, but things like grounding. You see people walking barefoot on the grass.
Oh, no, I love it. I love it.
Even hugging a tree. Now, let me explain why. I'm a tree hugger.
I love it. Maybe better than humans sometimes.
Exactly, but there's a reason. So nature has like a natural negative charge. So trees, the grass, rivers, the downward stream, the ocean, sunlight. So when we are one with it, so barefoot on the grass, in the ocean, washing under a waterfall, our cells are becoming that charge. And that's how our ancestors used to live, obviously.
Yes, okay.
But now with obviously technology or stress or inflammation.
We forget that connection.
And our cells are no longer charged to the same charge of nature. So when you do something like hug a tree, you're literally changing your vibration back to that of nature.
Nice.
And we obviously come from nature, from God, so that's something.
Wow.
But even something simple like supplements, obviously you have to be aware of where you get your supplements in sport especially. But I find MCT oil helps me instead of coffee for the crash.
But do you like to go for the natural ways more? If that's possible?
As much as possible.
Right.
And walking, like we know in COVID, walks saved us.
Yes.
Do you remember the 1 hour walk
walking
a day?
around the block or going down to the nearest park?
It was a saviour, and I think walking helps us keep afloat. It helps us engage in conversation with a friend. And actually we're going to start like a walk and talk soon with the charity. So just stay
looking
posted.
Forward to it, it's always here at Oz Arab Media.
Exactly right.
Amazing. How can movement save us, really? If we can say, scientifically speaking. So how can the movement and the physical routine become really the tools for this emotional recovery? Yeah,
movement is medicine, honestly. And I think for me, yoga and dancing have been a big part of my routine.
So movement doesn't have to be just in walking, as in physical movement, the way just to, vibrate around. Right.
And I'll give you an example. So yoga, I started it at a time in my life where I felt, there's a lot of intensity in my training.
Right.
And as an athlete, you need that. But when do we slow down and hear what our body is saying?
Yeah, you're exhausted.
We don't. So when I implemented yoga into my routine, I learned when I needed to soften, when I needed to let something go. And they say something like, if you force a pose in yoga or a position, you're only adding tension somewhere else.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's true.
it doesn't
100%.
help. And it's a very different mindset because in sport we're always pushing, like going, forcing, go, go, go.
Forget about the pain, go for
Yeah.
it, da. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But once you slow down, you say, you can actually hear what your body is saying to you and feel that. And then dancing. I love dancing so much. And my
What kind of dancing?
honestly, anything,
yeah.
Arabic dancing,
Oh.
hip hop, whatever, just
Yeah.
anything. And my friends and I have a joke that like, it's getting too much. I need to go shake out the stress and the trauma.
I love it.
And when it's like an intense week at training or my mood's not there, my coach will literally give me, he said, for homework, you have to go out and go dancing.
Oh, I love it. Please
Yeah.
give me that homework.
And you know, I come back on Monday a different person.
Wow.
Like my energy is lifted, my vibes are high
amazing.
again. And yeah, like it just helps that release.
Look, it's great to hear those advice, if we can say, from this generation, because people would go, oh, I can't bear it anymore. I'm going to go for a drink, or I'm going to go, you know, just stop putting more negative energy or toxins in your
Exactly.
body and start putting something healthy. So I love it. Thanks for those.
Exactly. And you
amazing
don't
advice.
you don't need to drink to be able to dance either.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That was the language of our bodies when we were
Yes.
kids. We never thought about who's watching us.
Yeah,
and-
100%.
Yeah.
I love it. But being in an era or a phase where trends and fads are taking a lot of our time and our mind, and having TikTok and Instagram always around us, there's a huge wave of performance and wellness hacks,
Yep.
if I can say, online. So what's one trend you think that people should actually be careful of and it's not a good idea?
Honestly, I would say ice baths are a big trend.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of benefits to them,
Right.
but you have to be mindful of the timing of the ice bath. So as a woman with a menstrual cycle, just before your period and during, if you go into the ice, it can add a lot of stress to the body, and it can lead to things, if you do it long term at the wrong time, such as adrenal fatigue. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but you should be mindful when to do it. And
Right.
I actually noticed firsthand that there were moments where I just couldn't hack it. Like I could not get myself into the ice. And in the past, I would just force myself, push,
Right.
go. But then I started to learn about this. And
Yes.
I stopped and I said, oh, but before I even learnt about this, I said, I can't do it, not today. And instead of seeing that as a weakness, I realized recovery is meant to support me. It's not meant to.
So maybe
be-
your body's trying to tell you something.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think in this grind mentality and culture, we don't stop to listen, and it might be just a gentle whisper or
Right.
this gut feeling, but that's where the wisdom is often
Right.
held.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And if I can add something to that as well, maybe on the men's side,
Yeah.
a lot of men doing it at the wrong time or at the wrong moments of their lives,
Yeah.
it can lead to heart attacks. Some
Oh,
people go
really?
into cold baths and never come out because it just
Wow.
was a big shock,
shock
to
to the
the
system.
heart. Yeah, so just be mindful of what you see online
Yeah.
because sometimes it's the wrong timing that can lead
Exactly.
to fatal
Exactly.
moments. If I can go to my next idea, where do you think that online hacks were actually helpful? Like some advice you saw, it's like, oh, that's not a bad idea. I hope people actually listen to this.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, everyone likes getting massage and stuff like
I
that.
love
or-
massage.
Me too. And we all know it feels good.
Yeah.
Even something like needling, acupuncture, cupping, I think they all have its merit. But I think you have to go with what feels right to you. Like, I've seen wet cupping come back into like modern era at the moment.
Yes,
I know
it's
it has.
been around.
It's been around for a long time, but I've seen that it's more advertised these days. I haven't tried it, but I do like traditional cupping with the oil, and when they can like slide it around,
Yeah.
that works for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's merit to a lot of these therapies.
Amazing. If we go back to some little advice or hacks that people talk
Yes.
about, things like the cold plunges, the breath work, the somatic therapy that you mentioned earlier, these are very trending. Are these just fads, do you think, or do they actually work and have a scientific value?
Yeah, I think it can be really hard to discern what's scientifically valid and what's a fad. but I've started to learn a lot more about somatic therapy, and I'm learning that the body does hold memory and emotion in various muscle parts, in the fascia, in our nervous system, and at a cellular level. So therapies like somatic release work are really important when you have things trapped in your body. So let's talk about, for example, sexual abuse or trauma. You know, when someone's been abused, they struggle for contact and they feel...
They just,
they
cringe.
clench, and they feel disgusted or that feeling. So it's one thing, like I said earlier, to do art therapy, to remove that from the unconscious and bring it to the conscious level.
And let go.
But then what do you do after? It's still in your body.
Yeah, how are you going to let go completely off?
So I think when you combine the two, you firstly have to tap into the unconscious, but then we need to actually release that energy from the cells and the body. And I think it can be really powerful when you put them together.
Somatic therapy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And also I was going to add, as an athlete, it's even more important because your body is your vessel to perform.
Yes.
So if
it's your engine. If it's down, it's down. We're all down.
And similarly, if it's not flowing freely, the energy, or if there's like a block, you can't perform in that highest state.
Amazing. Yeah. Funny, I just remembered a little thing when you're watching movies and see this athletic in those tiny little seconds of a moment where he's actually, or she, just going into this memory and then they just block and stay there and things are wandering around. Then I'm like, that's trauma maybe coming to them at the wrong time.
And they get frozen.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, or like they have a problem at a certain score because it reminds them of a time before where they missed or whatever. Or yeah, like
there's a lot going on, isn't it?
Yeah, it's even more important as an athlete, in my opinion. Yeah.
Wow, Joya, we are coming to the end of our amazing conversation, but I do like to learn a little bit more about the future in this connection. So what do you see as the next frontline in sports and wellness? Are we moving forward towards more integration between the psychology, the movement, and even spirituality?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. We see athletes like Novak Djokovic, and to me, he's a great example of how to embody all three, mind, body, spirit. It's necessary for our state. Like, we are not just bodies, and we are not just a soul. Like, we are a soul having a human experience. And I think when you combine the three, you can do great things. And it's like the head, the heart, the hands. Doing, thinking, feeling, you know, they're all interconnected. And it's similar to transpersonal psychology. It captures how personal growth is really connected to performance and like something bigger than you, the cosmos, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. But I know for sure there's a ceiling you hit if you leave out the spiritual. But
yeah, you're just disconnected, literally.
Yeah, and with God, you're limitless. You know, I think the heavens open up for you. And when I play, I always like to say, God, make me your instrument. Play through me.
No.
Let me be your vessel. Like, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the luck. You've mentioned earlier as well through the conversation that we're just energy in the end, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean in practical terms? And how does someone actually apply that in everyday life?
Wow.
Like, we're humans. We act as bodies. How do you act as an energy?
I guess it's pretty simple, like the law of oneness. I am you and you are me. We're all from God and made in his image and come from the same divine source. And I think when you come from this understanding and work from unity rather than separation, there's no more other. There's no more he, she, black, white. We've come a long way from that, honestly.
Yes, we have.
But like, recognizing that we're all like temples of God's spirit creates a sense of unity. And in that light, there's a really good way to think of things as your neighbor, as your greatest teacher and your clearest mirror. Like, what I don't like about you says more about me. And the thing that triggers me about you is showing me where I need to heal.
Right.
You
so you are the problem, not me, just because I triggered your problem.
Yes. So like what bothers you in me shows me where I'm at and what I need to heal or develop or whatever. And, you know, Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, but what I don't love in you shows me what I need to love about me more. So to love you is to love me more as well.
Amazing.
It's both ways.
Yeah.
And I think, there's like one final truth in the end. Like, we are one, God is one, God is love, and we are one and we are love. At the end of the day, it's just love. And I think when you live from this unity, your life can really change.
So these are amazing words, but if I can simplify it, I can say people don't only use your brains, use your heart. You know, you're connected spiritually, emotionally, and physically. That is amazing, Joya. I want to thank you so much for lighting on this powerful intersection of the performance, the art, the psychology, all coming together. It is clear that healing isn't just about talking, it's about expressing as well and connecting and allowing ourselves to feel. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Of course, no worries at all. And to our listeners, whether you're an artist or an athlete or simply someone searching for emotional clarity, know that creative expression and mindful movement has the power to transform. This was Christine from Scientifically Speaking on Oz Arab Media. Until next time, keep exploring the science behind every day.